Good morning. Time to make the coffee. Snickerdoodle again. Well, it's a little bit overcast today. I think the high is going to be 78, which is nice. I'm going to do some light work in the garden today. I don't think there's rain on the forecast, but if there is, that's okay too. But oh my goodness, my body is screaming at me going, oh no, no more really hard work. So, but I have mulch I still have to spread because all those bags of mulch everywhere looks really awful. So, and it needs to get put down. So I want to stay on my goal of getting the garden pretty much set up the way I want it by the end of June. And we have a couple of days coming up within the next week and a half hitting 90, and I won't be working out in the 90-degree heat. If I do anything, it'll be early in the morning. So that's the plan anyway. And hopefully it doesn't rain the whole time, but I don't want it to be a drought either. But that's the way it is around here. You know, you have cold and rain and cold, and that continues on for quite a while, and then all of a sudden it stops and we get high 80s and 90s, which yuck. The 80s I can tolerate, the 90s not so much. So I have to stay on the timeline and the schedule that I've made for myself because I don't want to be fooling around with all this all summer long. Now I know I'm going to have to be pulling some weeds and all that, but I'm talking about the big projects, pulling things apart, putting them back together, cleaning up. So that part I want in the rearview mirror by the end of June. So anyway, I have one big project out there that I have to do, and I have to pick a cooler day for that because I have a lot of stuff just thrown in where my greenhouse is going to go because it's for putting up the greenhouse, and that entails pulling all that stuff out of there, putting it on the lawn, and then doing the floor. The floor is the first thing that has to be done before I can put up the pop-up greenhouse. So, and then I want to see what I'm going to use of that stuff because some of it is just stuff. And then I'm going to get rid of it if I don't use it for the greenhouse because it's all stuff that I'm not going to use for the garden. And I'm not going to store it anymore if I don't use it. So some things I want to set up inside the greenhouse, like some shelving, and I need some heavy pots to hold the greenhouse down. So if it's windy, it doesn't blow away. I'm trying to set that area up so it's a little bit sheltered from the wind. But, you know, if the wind's strong enough, it's going to do what it wants anyway. So that's my plan. And you know what they say about the best laid plans of mice and men. So my coffee should be done dripping by now. And basically, like I said before, I'm just using my coffee pot to heat up the water. Now, since I'm getting an extra pot out for that. So this has been working fine. And then in the afternoon, if I want a cup of real coffee, because this is Ticino, if I want a cup of real coffee, I can do that too. So I still use my coffee maker, and I love this little coffee maker. It's a Family Worths, and if you need a new single-serve coffee maker, I highly recommend it. And I'm not affiliated with them at all. I bought it on my own dime, and I would definitely buy another one. So cheers. Yes, delicious. So, okay, I'll be back. Okay, well, I'm sitting here at my kitchen table with my coffee. Go grab yourself a cup of something to drink, and cheers. So I'm trying to think of what I want to do today. I don't want to do anything super strenuous like starting on the floor of the greenhouse. I don't want to do that today. I need a light day um, because I kind of overdid it a little bit, but I'm okay. I just need to pull back a little bit right now so that I'm not so sore anymore. But anyway, there is a little pathway that I want to just straighten up. I've got things there like tomato cages and things that don't really belong there. So I want to switch those things around. And I've also got some little short fencing that I've had for years that I keep moving around. There's certain areas I don't want the puppies to go into because of newly planted plants, and they just step on everything. So I like to keep them out of some of the flower beds because I've just planted some perennials there. So, but in the meantime, what I'm also doing as I'm fixing up the garden is I'm straightening up things in the garage and using things that I've gathered for, 2 or 3 years now for the garden that I never bothered to put out there because I was busy. I was going to the boat every weekend. I didn't get around to it. They were things that I bought that I really liked. So I'm trying to get those things out of the garage and putting them into the garden. And it's kind of fun to actually be able to use those things now because that's how I spend my weekends now is in my garden. So I'm not at the boat anymore because my ex-husband and I got divorced. So, and of course, he was the avid boater. I loved it too, but there were other things that I wanted to do besides just hang out at the boat 24/7. So anyway, moving on, it's all good. So now my retreat is my backyard because I don't like to travel. There's too much craziness going on, and I've traveled quite a bit in my earlier life, so I don't have any wanderlust anymore. I've satisfied that part of my life, let's put it that way. So I would rather stay home and just take days where I don't want to do anything, or if I want to paint, or if I want to read, or cook, or whatever it is I like to do. That's what I'm going to do, and I do it in my backyard. So I'm trying to make it into something that I get a lot of pleasure out of. Some people may not think my garden looks that good, and I don't care. I'm the one that has to enjoy it, and that's what I do. So yeah, in the meantime, as I'm going through my things in the garage, I'm putting them where they actually belong. And it really helped to have the donation people come and finally pick up things from the house that I had out there for donation. So I had quite a big pile the last time that they came. And I'll do that again probably next month. This month, my focus is not on decluttering the house. It's more on decluttering the garage and fixing up the garden. So, especially with big projects, I try and at least stick to one category as best I can. Now, that's not saying I'm never going to look through a drawer or something like that on a rainy day. You know, I might do that, but probably my biggest focus on rainy days will be the garage. So the two, the garage and the garden kind of go hand in hand. And then I'm also trying to make a plan as I go through all these things about what I'm going to do in late fall to get my garden winterized. And I'm trying to keep that on the simple side, you know, like putting away my hoses so that they don't freeze, covering up some furniture because I leave it all out there. I have big, huge black plastic bags that fits over my chairs and tables. And sometimes Mark's has their outdoor furniture covers on markdown. So I'll pick those up when I need to. So I'm trying to figure out what is the least labor-intensive way to break down the garden when the time comes, so that in the spring I don't have all this work again, because my whole plan is to make things easier in my life rather than make more work for myself. And sometimes you have to go through a lot of work in order to get to that point. Like if you're downsizing your house, you know, you have to do the work of looking through your things, sorting through things, organizing things that you normally wouldn't do if you just left things status quo. So that's what I'm trying to do, and trying to make sense of things. And I don't want to be doing this for the next 10 years. I do want an end date to that, because I just want to enjoy my home. I want to enjoy my garden. I want to enjoy my dogs, my family, my friends. I want to enjoy all that and not just work, work, work. So anyway, I'm going to go write my morning pages and drink my coffee. I don't like to start the day, you know, feet on the ground, just hustle bustle right away. I like to ease my way into the day. So usually, you know, late morning, I'll start whatever task I've assigned myself. And I used to always have a list, a to-do list. And I do have general to-do lists about what I want to accomplish in the garage, in the house, in the garden. But I don't really make daily to-do lists anymore, because I got to the point where I found it was getting frustrating, because you know, I found it fun to check off the boxes. Yeah, I got this done and this done and this done, but I found it frustrating not to be able to complete the to-do list. And I know you can put it on tomorrow's to-do list, but you know, sometimes what happens is your list just gets longer and longer. So now I just usually focus on one major thing that I want to accomplish for the day, whether that's cleaning up the kitchen and doing laundry, or doing something in the garden. Like today, I want to complete another little path, but it's not very labor intensive because it's in the shade and there aren't a lot of weeds. So it's mainly just laying down a bag of mulch and some of those rubber tiles. Not a big deal. So that's how I do my chores. Late morning, early afternoon, and by 3 o'clock I stop. I get cleaned up. I usually get myself something to eat, and that's it. I veg out the rest of the afternoon. So, all right, well, I'm going to go relax for a little bit before I carry on and start my task, and I'll be back later. Cheers. So this is the area that I want to clean up today. I have a bag of mulch that I'm going to spread over there. have all these tomato cages and stakes that I need to do something with. This hose reel. I've got this patio peach that needs to go into the woods. It died, I think, last year. I never did anything with it. It's just sitting here. And I have a couple of little red baskets that used to have strawberries in there. I might dig up a couple strawberries and hang those by my hummingbird feeder because they're red. And then I have to straighten up these tiles and just make it look neat. So, and then I have a couple hoses. I want to set up one for the deck and one for the garden. So that's my plan today. Nothing real strenuous except spreading the mulch because there aren't a lot of weeds here because it's in the shade. So that'll be my little project for today. All right. Here we are in my kitchen trying to save money on food so I can do other things that are more fun. Well, not exactly fun, but that need to be done, like the garden. So anyway, I got the spinach out of my garden. They're huge. These are absolutely humongous. I'm going to cut those up. I'm going to make an omelet this morning. So things I've had, got these grape tomatoes that are starting to get a little shrivelly. I need to use those up. This salsa, I opened that a while back. I'm going to freeze most of it. I have these mushrooms that I keep in a paper bag in the fridge, a couple of eggs, some butter that I got from the restaurant that I'm using up, and a hash brown patty. And I have some cheese that I'm going to add as well. So I'm going to make an omelet for breakfast. A spinach, mushroom, tomato, and I'll top it with a little salsa and spinach. All right, well, I'll be back when I get this cooked up. Okay, I added garlic, salt, and pepper to the veggies. And now I added also garlic salt to the eggs. I'm going to let that cook up a little bit until it's firm. Flip it over, add some cheese, and that'll be this morning's breakfast using what I already have in the fridge. Okay, these guys had their share of spinach. I'm going to give them some apple now too. And then here is my breakfast. Put a little salsa on top. I'm going to freeze the rest of this salsa. I'm going to put it in single serving portions. And there's my hash browns and half an apple. And I put thick cut shredded cheddar on there. I used that up. That was from, I think, Aldi's. So that looks like a good breakfast to me. So when I freeze things, I get a piece of tape so I don't have to write on my container. I just get a piece of tape and a marker, and then I can write on the little containers, and then when I use it for something else, I just peel the tape off and then I'm done. So that's a quick tip on just adding quick labels to your freezer food. Well, I wanted to get out in the garden earlier today, but it's not going to be that hot. And then I started in my refrigerator once I was done cooking my omelet to see what was what in there. So anyway, I'm doing that instead. So I got some grapes here I want to dehydrate. They're kind of shriveled up anyway. I want to turn those into some raisins if I can. And then I had to go in the garage and dig out this salad keeper. So for the iceberg lettuce, I stopped at Drug Mart a couple days ago because they had 5 heads for $5, so I only bought one. That's all I need. But every now and then I like some iceberg lettuce. It's nice and crunchy. And they also had romaine on sale, so I bought some of that. That was $2 for 3 heads, which was a good deal. So anyway, now I gotta put this food up, and I still have spinach in the garden, and I also have lettuce out there, but it's neither one of these two. So I like a mix of lettuce in my salads. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, but I still have to get out into the garden. So another project. I'm trying to figure out ways where I can save even more money on food. So that's what I'm working on. Okay, the romaine I store in, I separate them and I store them with a paper towel in these green bags, and they last quite a while that way, at least a couple weeks. So trying to save more money on food. It's not easy, but we got to do it till these prices come down. Okay, I have these carrots and they aren't the freshest anymore. So I scrubbed them up, and some of this stuff is already starting to get crummy. So I'm going to peel these, and then I'm going to freeze some, and I'm going to shred some for salads. And I have in here my little compost maker. So I'm going to put all the peels in there because, like I said, they're not the freshest anymore. So I want to preserve some of this food and before I go out and do my garden chores. So I want to get that done and get this thing going. I have a whole little bucket, not a big 5-gallon, the smaller buckets of dried vegetation that I want to feed my plants with out in the garden. So I'm going to do this project and then take a little coffee break, and then I'm going to go outside. Well, I just got done blanching this zucchini. I'm letting it cool off. I did the same thing with carrots. It's not a big, huge bag of stuff, but I blanched it for 3 minutes, and now I'm going to freeze it. And I also want to shred these carrots yet for meals. And then I had these potato gnocchis in the fridge. They are shelf stable, but I want to get these cooked up. I'm going to cook the whole package. And then I saved out some zucchini and some little grape tomatoes that were starting to shrivel up. And I want to make some veggies, and I'll probably add some mushrooms and have that with the potato gnocchis. So I just have some salted water here, and I'm going to boil these up, and that'll be my dinner for a couple days. I'm boiling up the rest of the mushrooms in this broth. It's a salted broth. And then I'm going to throw the gnocchis in there once these boil for a little bit. And I like mushroom broth, so I think it'll give the gnocchi a good flavor. But that's just, something that I think would be good. So just using up what I have in the refrigerator, trying to cook ahead a couple meals, because I haven't been eating too well lately. I've been eating a lot of sandwiches, and I really need some better food. So before this stuff goes bad, I'm going to go ahead and cook it, and then I'll have enough for a couple meals. So that's what I'm doing so far, and it's already almost 2 o'clock. I've been fooling around in the kitchen all morning. But I still want to get out there and at least start working on that little path. So we'll see. So I cut the zucchini up and the carrots up in little pieces so I can put it in soup or stir fry or whatever. I didn't want big medallions. So I'm going to roll this up and stick it in the freezer and get all the air out, and then seal it up. And then I'll have zucchini and carrots ready to go. whenever I want them, to make a quick soup or stir fry or whatever I want. Okay, the final thing I'm cooking up today is the rest of the zucchini, the rest of the grape tomatoes, and I'm frying that in a little bit of oil and butter, and I added some chicken broth, not chicken. You guys know I'm vegetarian, but you can add your own chicken broth. I added a little bit of that to it for extra flavor, and I'll have that with the gnocchi and the mushrooms for dinner tonight. All right, well, I have enough here now for 3 meals, 2 dinners, and then I left some of the gnocchi out. I put some garlic olive oil on it to keep it from sticking. There's a few mushrooms in there, and I thought I could fry this up with an egg to make another meal. I think that would be delicious. So there we go. Some healthier meals than what I've been eating, even though the sandwiches I've been eating are healthy, but still, you know, it's nice to have a nice warm dinner sometimes. So that's it for my cooking today. And now I got to get dressed, even though it's 2:30 in the afternoon, and try and work on that path a little bit. I don't think I'll get it all done today, but we'll see. Okay, well, I pulled these all up and I turned them over because they're kind of concave, so they have to settle in now, but I think that looks better. Yeah, it's a mishmush, but that's okay. I still have my little seating area here, and I cleaned up the tomato cages. I'm going to leave these stakes here for now. They're not in anybody's way, and they're hardly noticeable. It's not like they're an eyesore. So this all needs to settle in, and I did not do the mulching yet, but that's a project for another day because I'm glad I got this done. So this is what it looks like from here. Yeah, so I'm happy that's done. The path looks better, little by little. And today was a cooking day, so not too much work in the garden. Although it's nice and cool and cloudy, but sometimes other things have to take priority. So, all right, I'm going to sit down here a minute. There we go. Going to sit down here and admire my work. But that's it for me today. It's like 4 o'clock, and yeah, I'm done. So I'm going to go take a shower, eat my dinner, and call it good. I'm glad I cooked earlier today because now I certainly wouldn't feel like cooking. So, and the planes are flying overhead. Happens every afternoon. We're on the route to the airport. The airport is about 15 minutes from here. Not that far. So, but it's not anywhere I want to go. So, all right, my friends, that's all I have for you today. I want to wish you abundant blessings. I love you guys. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, comment, and like. It helps my channel grow. Don't forget to share, and thanks for watching.